So you've probably started a new course or module and you've been given some course materials, maybe lecture slides, and that particular class, lecture or workshop is fast approaching. What do? Obviously, you can do nothing, turn up and use it as first exposure, but for myself, to do comfortably well in the exams and to in fact excel, I'd recommend doing some of the basic stuff before. Hey friends, my name's Choudhury. I'm a medical doctor, the co-host of the Scrubbed In podcast and the co-founder of Peerr, where you can learn from your favorite educators. Now, I did 3 particular things before I turned up to classes, lectures and workshops, and I'd recommend them to you too. Number 1, scope it out. Scope out the material. For you to go to a class and take away the maximum value, you need to know what to expect. It's the equivalent of walking through a forest in the dark or walking through a well-lit walkway where you can see where you're headed. Let's put it into medical terms. You might have a class on, say, how the kidney works. If you scope out the class, you'll know, okay, first you're going to be learning about the basic anatomy, then learn about what the nephron is, then what each channel does and where it is and how it absorbs and excretes ions, and why it even matters. Why does it matter to the patient and doctor? Why does it matter to human physiology? I find that scoping allows you to follow better and it keeps you awake really. Now, if you really want to do well, as you scope it out, form questions that you'd be expected to know the answer from when you're in that session. My second recommendation in terms of basics to do before the session is learn the language. For new content, this was a must to me and still is a must. I can't turn up to the class and for the first time ever hear the word nephron or hear anatomical language that I can't understand. Not knowing the basic language will throw you off course during the session and the whole session becomes redundant and useless. Scoping the topic is what gives you the opportunity to quickly Google the language in advance. Sticking to the concept of the kidney. To know what the glomerulus is, the nephron, the pumps, aldosterone, renin, all these various different words. You don't want to come across them for the first time ever in the session when the lecturer is teaching more than 100 people. They won't stop for you. So to be able to follow in the session, to be able to take away maximum value, learn the basic language before the session. Now, my final recommendation, the final step that I like to do before a class, and it ties in with active recall and learning with purpose. As you scope, start to identify and formulate questions that you should be able to answer after the session. So for example, how is the blood filtered through the glomerulus and nephron system? How does the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system affect the kidneys? How do the channels work to filtrate ions? Where are the channels? What drugs can be used to manipulate the nephron? The goal isn't to have answers when you scope or when you go through the material. The goal is to set up the goalposts so you have a rough idea of what answers you're seeking when you're in the session. Allows you to sort of sit there with purpose. Now, I have a caveat to all of this. At one point, I was pretty much learning the whole topic before the session, and with the volume of content medicine has, obviously it became unsustainable, especially with having a life outside of medicine. So what I realized was that I was making a mistake. I was doing too much before the session. I didn't stick to the basics of the 3 steps that I just recommended. Simply scope to know what you're going to learn, familiarize yourself with the language, and create brief questions to find the answers, not form the answers before the session. So yeah, these 3 recommendations are what allowed me to maximize the value that I took away from my classes, workshops, lectures, any session that the university pretty much arranged. If you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll be talking about what to do during class. See you in the next video.